So my title for today, ladies and gentlemen, of course, yeah, mahasiswa. I believe there are so many mahasiswa today, all the S1 and S2 student doing your masters and PhD, and also yeah, my academician fellows. Welcome to this UBI International Conference, Fabric. So my title for today is Adaptation Challenges for Expatriates Living in Challenging Countries. Well, most of the time, the research are done on the countries that is very normal, right? People are living in Jakarta, people living in Indonesia, people living in a peaceful country. So my discussion for today is for expatriate living in challenging countries. I will introduce to you what challenging countries mean afterwards, all right? Good. So yeah, with the COVID-19, with the slow growth of economic and then rising terrorism everywhere, and then political conflict and instabilities, and yeah, the issues of corruption lead to a very a little bit chaos, global advancement in our world nowadays, ladies and gentlemen. And the expatriate, yeah, even though with the COVID-19, they are still expatriate living in those countries, right? They live overseas because they are working overseas in order to run the organization. For example, Intel, Bosch, during the COVID-19, some of the expatriates were not asked to leave the country, for example, Malaysia, because they have big factories in Malaysia for Intel and for Bosch. So they let their expatriates to keep on working in Malaysia, right? So yeah, these people are still living in this country and continue working even during the high peak of COVID-19. Of course, yeah, they have to do that in order to supply the products and the things that that all of us need in our daily life. So yeah, this global business community known as expatriate living in the host countries are constantly engulfed in the issues of multicultural workplace, environmental, socio-economic, and also terrorism challenges. And this, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, for those who are new to the word expatriates, or it is known as the word expat, right? That is a short term for expatriates. It's someone who does not live in their own country, and then either they are working, they are studying, or they are following the other family members. So these are known as expatriates. By a clearer definition, it says that the expatriate have to live in the other countries for a minimum of 6 to 9 month period, right? To be called as expatriates. All right, let me continue, ladies and gentlemen. So the definition of expatriate adaptation is the degree of fit between the expatriate and the new environment that they live in, right? In both work and non-work domains, or the perceived degree of comfort and familiarity with the foreign culture. For example, if I'm invited to go and work at your university, Dr. Husnul Hatima, so I will be called as expatriate, right? That is expatriate in academic world, right? So for example, Hilman B, you are invited to work in the Netherlands, you are known as expatriate working with organizations. All right. For example, also with the MC Aulia, if you are invited to come and work as academic in Malaysia or in the Philippines, so you will be expatriates in the academic world. All right. So that is expatriate adaptation. And then it's important to note that factors such as family support and also destination image. Where do you work? For example, you'll be very happy if they assign you to work in the Netherlands, but your feelings could be a little bit of mix if you are assigned to work in the Nigeria country or in the African countries. For example, Dr. Husno, if your university assign you to work in the Netherlands, you'll be very happy, right? Right, but then if your rector asks you to go and work in Nigeria for 6 months, what is your first reaction? You say,
maybe I don't know, sir.
Yes, you have these mixed feelings because there are some countries that you feel very happy to go and work with because the environment is different, and there are some countries that you would thought, give me a few days to think about it, before you give the answer to your rector, right, or to your boss. So these are what I'm trying to, this is a study with my PhD student, with Mr. Dagi Abdullahi. He is from Nigeria. So we are trying to study what are the expatriate adaptation. Is it the same or different a little bit with the countries that are challenging to live in? All right, so the organizational support, of course, these are very necessary in order to contribute to expatriate adaptation. All right, what is hostile environment? I believe there are many students following this, right? Maybe Mr. Khalid Rahman. What is hostile environment? Or Adrian Unishari or Gerin Naldi?
Yes.
Right, so what is hostile environment? Hostile environment is any environment with potential presence of severe physical threats such as war, civil insurrection, terrorism, uncontrolled violence, and also crime, right? So it is any setting in which people are exposed to international or intentional violence, right, involving acts of terror or other criminal activities such as banditry, insurgency, kidnapping, and robbery. So if you live in a country that is constantly having war, right, that having civil insurrection, terrorism, attack, and an uncontrolled violence and crime, you would definitely not feel peaceful or feel peace to live in that country, right? Because you at any time you feel that you are exposed to any violence, right, that involving acts of terror or other criminal activities. For example, if you leave your house, you don't feel safe. If I leave my family at home while working in, for example, in Algeria, would they be happy or would they be safe while I go to work at my office? So these are the issues regarding this expatriate living in hostile environment. All right, so this description aligned with classification made by the Global Terror Index, which is annually published by the Institute for Economics and Peace, the United Nations Homicide Rate, and also United Nations Human Development Index. And this description aligned with classifications made by the Global Terror Index, which is annually published by the Institute for Economics and Peace, the United Nations Homicide Rate, and United Nations Human Development Index. So I think I'm repeating myself. I'm sorry, guys. All right. So what are the countries with high risk? If you see the world map that I put here, right, the one that I put with the country's name, these are considered as the top countries that are very risky to live in. All right. For example, you see that you can see Afghanistan. You can see Pakistan, you can see Myanmar, you can see Yemen, you can see Somalia, ladies and gentlemen, and you can see Iraq, right? This is Iraq over here, and you can see Syria, you can see Sudan, and of course you have Palestine, and you can see Nigeria, and you can see Congo, right? This is Nigeria, and this is Congo, and this is Sudan. And all these countries are considered as very high risk to work, right? If you were offered to go and work in these countries, well, actually, you need a few days to think about it, as the doctor has mentioned before, or you need, to discuss more with your boss. What are the actions that the company can provide to me, then can make sure that I will be safe in that particular countries, right? Because when you become expatriate and your company send you or university send you to work overseas, the assignment is usually a few months or a few years, right? So in order to do this, you want to make sure that you would feel safe living in that country. And moreover, if you bring your family along with you, then you have to make sure that you and your family at home are going to be safe, right? So these are, there are countries with high risk that expatriate, usually they are expatriate. For example, in Nigeria, even though it is listed as among the top 10 country that is very risky to live with, there are nowadays about 1,800 expatriate living in Nigeria, right? Because they are working. For example, most of the expatriate in Nigeria are coming from China because they are involved in the construction site, right? So these people contribute to the development of these risky countries, but at the same time, they are risking their life, and they're risking their life in order to work in that particular countries. All right, if you have any question, you can ask me afterwards and later on. All right, so yeah, I give you all the example of what it is, the feeling of being asked to work in countries that is highly developed and countries that is less developed, and also in a very high risky countries that make you think a lot more if you want to accept the offer to become expatriates. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, because these organizations are therefore encouraged, right, the companies and the universities who send expatriate, they are encouraged to step up actions to enhance measurement to make sure that the expatriates who live overseas are feeling safe and are safe living in that particular country. All right, so yeah, Martins and Tome, they recommend pre-departure training for expatriates, right? Because this will add a lot more knowledge on how the expatriate can adapt and adjust better in the new country. So ladies and gentlemen, okay, of course, yeah, there are a lot of research on expatriate adaptation. So you can look at this, like Black and Mendenhall, they are the father of expatriate adaptation, Russell, Berry and all, and also Early and Ang, and also Ali, Van der Sea and Sanders, that was published in very previous years. All right, so this, ladies and gentlemen, the framework that my PhD student, Mr. Dagi, Abdullahi, and also myself, we are working with on this framework, on this research. So we put the independent variable as hostile environment, and under the hostile environment are the elements of terrorism, kidnapping, workplace bullying, culture shock, and also job security. And all these can actually can give negative news or negative elements to the expatriate adaptation. So all these actually are negatively related to the expatriate adaptation in the risky countries. All right, good. So I move a little bit. Yeah, let me discuss a little bit about terrorism. I believe that everybody have heard of the word terrorism, so terrorists. Yeah, sometimes, yeah, for example, in Nigeria, it happens almost every month or every week, because there are people who come and attack schools, right? For example, in Pakistan also, these are happening where all these terrorists come and attack schools, right? So they attack the kids. So just imagine if you are expatriates, you have your kids going with you to these particular countries and you send them to schools, and you would not feel very good while working over there, because you would be thinking of my kids or my children studying at school. Are they going to be safe or not? Right? So these are the terrorism. And the next one, ladies and gentlemen, is kidnapping. Back to what I've mentioned just now. Kidnapping in Nigeria is happening almost every month, where all these, I forgot the term, the word for this, buka, what is that? Yes, they have this one group that they go against the education, right, in Nigeria. So this group, they go against the education that is being introduced by the government. So what they are doing is they go to the school and they kidnap school kids and the young ones, right? For example, the youngsters studying at the high school, they just went in one day and then just with their machine gun and pistols and everything, they kidnap the school kids, right? So this is kidnapping happening. So if expatriates are living in these particular countries, and also, even expatriates are being kidnapped in Nigeria, right? Because these people, they would like to ask for ransom, for money. So because they need money, so the easiest way to do is they kidnap expatriates who are working on the construction site. And of course, the company have to pay money to release the expatriate. And this definitely will give negative experiences to the expatriate in order to live in that particular country nicely, in order to contribute to their working place, all right? So the next one, sorry, ladies and gentlemen, is the workplace bullying. workplace bullying can happen in any form, right? Form of constant harassment or humiliation from others in the workplace that exposes any employee to either physical, emotional, or psychological harm or threat. And this is called as psychological bullying at workplace. Well, for some, it becomes a very extreme, negative, and persistent form of emotional abuse, and this can hurt the feelings and the motivation of the employees at the same time, all right? And this also can contribute to the adaptation of the expatriates living in the particular countries, because, for some countries, the power distance is very high, and some countries the power distance is very low. And for those who are working in the power distant countries, probably the workplace bullying is common, right? Compared to the not so high power distant countries. So ladies and gentlemen, the next one is culture shock. Of course, culture shock, as I asked our doctor just now, right? It can be anything, right? For example, we are from the middle, highly developed countries, right? When we are asked to go to the less developed countries, that experiences of living could give a higher culture shock to us. With this higher culture shock, with a lot of differences in cultures and everything like that, would also impact the expatriate adaptation and adjustment living in that particular countries. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, and also the last one that I would like to, my student also would like to study is about job security. For example, if you're living in a very hostile environment, the job security is becoming less, right? For example, if you go and work in Jakarta, if you're in Jogja, if you're working in Malang, job security could be good, or but then if you are going to work in Pakistan or in Nigeria, for example, because there's terrorism and everything like that, you could easily lose your job, right? Because of the kidnapping, because of this terrorism things that going on, you could easily lose your job. I mean, of course, the company of your multinational company that send you to work in this particular country definitely will ask you to come back home if anything happen. But sometimes, when this terrorist attack happen, even the airport is also closed. So how are you going to leave that particular countries who are in very risky life and risky environment to go and work as expatriate in a very high risk countries? All right, good. And that is why the support needed by expatriates who live in these hostile countries are a lot more needed compared to the expatriates who are living in the normal developed countries, right? So that is why my student Dagi Abdullahi and myself, we are studying the impact of these negative elements in these high-risk countries that are given to the expatriate adaptation while working in that particular countries. All right, ladies and gentlemen, terima kasih banyak. Thank you, danke. Thank you so much.